Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Prospect Corner here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, joined in by my co-host, Dayton Reimer. Only one co-host today. Peter is otherwise unavailable for this episode, but we're gonna push on and keep talking prospects. And that would be a little fun to be fun to go back to the 2024 draft and the 2023 draft and look at how these players are doing, how the top picks are doing, how the guys maybe deeper in the draft, maybe surprising so far. 2024, of course, it just was done, but we're a couple more, about a month and a bit into the seasons, and some maybe too close to 2 months into seasons when the juniors kind of start earlier. But first, how's it going, Dayton?
Well, it's good. It's been a busy week, so I'm on the recovery. It's going to be busy for the rest a little bit here until the weekend, and then I'm going to collapse, which will be fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a busy time for me too. Lots of stuff going on, but I mean, hockey's it's in full swing. Everything. It's a month, like I say, a month and a half in for some leagues, and lots of standout players already. Like we talked about the CHL already having a lot of players standing out early on. A lot of the 2025 draft guys, and even the guys that have been drafted have gotten off to good starts. So let's just jump right into the 2024 draft. As I say, it's only been a few months since that draft was done. But the top 10 right now, only two players from that. Of course, there's not always going to be players that are going to play in the NHL right away. Only two have seen NHL time. Actually, Celebrini's only seen one game. He is still recovering from an injury. He is slated to be back, I believe, really soon here. I think it's their next game. He's supposed to be back. So hopefully he's not going to get something to flare up again. And they seem to be being cautious with him. So hopefully he can play the rest of his season, but he has 2 points in one game, so he's off to a great start. Hopefully he can keep that going.
Hmm.
Of course, he was the first overall pick. And then the other guy was Luchenko, and he's been sent back to the OHL since, but he did play a few games in Philadelphia before he was sent back. So those are the only two players that have played in the NHL so far. Rest have been playing in junior. Of course, all the preseason, you've got some of the guys were playing in those preseason games, and Ozane Perek, Carter Yakimchuk had some pretty good showings in training camp. So, Dane, what do you think about the top 10 so far? How they're doing in their seasons? Anyone you kind of want to point out a bit more here?
Yeah, I think everyone's been doing pretty well. Not a lot of, problems, I guess, to start the year, because usually those kind of stick out the most, right?
Yeah.
But Carter Yakimchuk, he's been doing really good when after he was returned to junior. He's put up 11 points in 10 games. He's doing Carter Yakimchuk things.
Yeah.
Uh, Berkeley Catton picked right after 22 points in 50 or in 15 games, and somehow not leading the Spokane Chiefs. WHL. There is yeah, one guy ahead of him. I think he has 26 points. Shea Van Olm, who's a 20-year-old, doing a really good job in his 20-year-old season. Maybe that'll be a free agent signing. Who knows?
Yeah.
Uh, TJ Ginla's been great. Beckett Seneca's been great. Just like a lot of really solid performances so far.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at all these, especially the CHL guys, they've all gotten off to great starts. Of course, Caden Lindstrom is still hurt. He hasn't played a game for a long time, actually, and he's still recovering from injuries that it's tough. We were talking before we started recording that it's tough for a player to be this young and having to deal with back injuries and stuff like that. And hopefully it doesn't derail his career too much. I mean, he was a fourth overall pick, of course, from Columbus Blue Jackets. Has a ton of potential in his game. We talked about him a lot throughout his draft year, and he did play in his draft year, but again, he was dealing with injuries for a lot of the season, and but he still was selected fourth overall. So I mean, obviously the Blue Jackets see a lot of potential in him. Hopefully, he can get back and healthy and stay healthy because, like I say, he has got a ton of upside. as a power forward in the NHL. So that's a guy that hoping that the injuries don't linger throughout his career, which can happen with back injuries, right? So.
Hmm.
Another guy, Ivan Demidov, of course, a great start in the KHL this season. Of course, Montreal Canadiens are ecstatic that they were able to get him at fifth overall. 19 points in 24 games in the KHL so far this season, which is pretty good for a 18-year-old. And then you're looking at he might be coming over sooner than expected after Matvei Michkov has come over and already playing in the NHL. Demidov, of course, is a contract, so we'll see when he comes over. But he's had a great start as well. So I mean, yeah, lots of great players, lots of good starts for the top 10 guys.
Hmm.
All right, rest of the first round. Anyone else you want to look at? I'm good or bad. I mean, anyone that's kind of started off not very well to start the season. Like I say, it's not really much to read into. Draft plus 1 year, very early in the season. So if they're not starting well, it's not the end of the world. But anyone else you want to shout out here?
I think Sam O'Reilly has been doing pretty well with the London Knights. Being a guy who's more so a depth player, hidden behind the big stars like Sam Dickinson, Easton Cowan. He's, done as good as he could. He's got 9 points in 12 games. Four of those are goals. And it looks like the Edmonton Oilers might have a bit of a gem with their 30th overall pick, or 32nd, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm still shows my
it's
age. The last pick is always 30th.
yeah. Keep adding to that draft. We're gonna get
Yeah,
more than that eventually, more expansion as we get going.
which I
Um,
love.
yeah,
Expand. Let's do it. I'm
let's get 40
I love the
teams.
new teams and the new logos and all that stuff. It's fun. And then, more prospects to make the
Yeah,
NHL. And I know a lot of people complain about, oh, it's, watering down the league. At least that has been a complaint in the past.
yeah.
Especially when I remember my dad saying that when they were going through that rapid expansion in I believe it was the 70s. Quite a few
Mhm.
teams joined. But no, I think it only makes the league better. It spreads out all of the talent and all of the you know, it brings hockey to people who normally wouldn't have it, which is super fun.
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
to derail the conversation, but
lots of great more opportunities for these young guys to make NHL teams too, right? So, and a lot of guys aren't able to, especially for goaltenders is the biggest one because there's
hmm.
only you only get two. There's only two spots available for every team.
Yep.
And yeah, another guy I'll mention Liam Greentree. He's 29 points in 14 games to start the year in for the Windsor after a 90-point season in his draft year. So he's on pace to shatter those numbers if he can keep going on that. He's almost at 2 points a game. So that's pretty good. Yeah, that Greentree, of course, drafted 26th overall by the LA Kings, which I mean is showing that he probably shouldn't have been drafted that late to what he's doing this season. And even what he did last season, I'm not sure why he dropped. I think we mentioned him as a guy that it's kind of interesting why he dropped all the way to 26. How
Uh,
good he is, right? So
Yeah, I wonder if it was just playing on a bad Windsor team.
yeah,
He was the only guy, and so I think you saw a lot more of his flaws along with his strengths because he was the only person who was really trusted to handle the puck.
true.
I wonder if that was a cause because everything else looked really good. I think I had him in my own ranking in top 20, at least maybe top 15.
Yeah, and I know Peter had him way higher in his rankings too, where he wasn't supposed to be in the 20s at all, like 25, 26. But yeah, he's shown well to start his his draft plus 1 year. Another guy, Cole Eiserman, has 5 goals in 7 games for Boston University to start his NCAA career. Uh, that's a really good start for the NCAA. I mean, 5 goals and he scored in almost every game. So that's a good start for him. And the Islanders, again, a guy that went probably a little later than everyone kind of expected at 20th overall. Looks like they got a bit of a, I don't know if it's a steal or not, but pretty good value at 20.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty solid.
right? And he's shown pretty good to start his season too. Anyone else you want to mention from the rest of the draft? I mean, beyond the first round, anyone that's kind of stood out so far?
And it's really tough, especially with the draft just last year,
Yeah.
to pick out a guy that has really shown up. Um, being one of the guys writing for the Senators, I've been watching their last pick, Eric Wallenius,
Mm,
and he's actually shown up pretty well. Um, a He was a fifth round pick. Nobody had him on their radar as far as I could tell from my research. And he's been kind of tearing it up in the U20 league in Finland.
mm,
I believe, kind of going off memory here, I think it's 15 points in 11 games. So he's got some skill. He's also got some good size at 6'4" and 212 pounds. So it's really tough to know what you have in those later rounds, but he's definitely showing that he can potentially be a guy, which
mm.
is, more than you'd expect from a fifth round pick.
100%. Yeah, I mean, to start the season, that's pretty good to, already standing out, being a late round pick. We'll see how it all kind of translates throughout the rest of his time, but yeah, a good start to his draft plus one too. I'll mention Hunter St. Martin, who signed his ELC with the Florida Panthers not that long ago, I think about a week ago. He has 13 goals in 13 games for the Medicine Hat Tigers to start. Probably contributed to getting that ELC signed because Florida's like, wait, we'll lock this guy up. He's already almost halfway to his, he's past halfway to his totals from last season. Only 24 goals last season. He's already got 13 so far. So only 2 assists. So he's doing that. Who was the guy that always got a ton of goals, never a lot of assists? Um, yeah,
Oh, yeah. He plays
it's
for Columbus, right? I can't-
Marchenko. Yeah, Kirill Marchenko.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a ton of goals last, over 20 goals, nothing in the assist column, but
Yep.
I mean, goal scoring, it's a good thing too.
Hmm.
So yeah, St. Martin, a sixth round pick by the Panthers. So great start to his season. We'll see if that can keep going. I don't know if he's going to remain a goal a game. I mean, that's pretty hard to keep going. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's good for the Medicine Hat Tigers who have a really good team
Hmm.
this season. Lots of good names
Strangely
in there.
struggling though.
I
The
mean,
the
lots of
team
good
hasn't not
on
put together
paper.
a lot of wins, which is surprising.
On paper, they've got a good team. They
Yes.
should be doing a lot more
No,
with
there's a
Kevin
reason they
McCann,
came into
Andrew
the
Basha.
CHL as like the top ranked team, right?
Yeah, you'd think so, but yeah,
Yeah,
they are struggling to start a bit.
just a little bit. Um, and not to toot my own horn, but I believe last year we were looking at underrated guys, and I may have mentioned Hunter St. Martin at that point.
I believe so. That does sound familiar to me. Yeah. So there you go.
I don't always hit, but when I do, I will remind you of it.
Yeah, he's proving you right so far to
Yes.
start this season.
Yeah, loved it when he was picked in the sixth round. Thought he definitely deserved it. An overage pick, right? But really, really good player. I liked. I think he really stood out in the games that I watched when yeah, the couple that I saw him in.
Yeah. So he's 19 right now, so probably be he'll turn 20 in June, which means he'll be in the AHL next season most likely. And they've got his ELC done, so that'll come pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right, we mentioned a few players. Maybe it's a bit too early for the 2024 draft to say early steals, but do you have one to look at? Maybe, I mean, we mentioned Green Tree,
Yeah.
Eiserman, maybe, but anyone that's kind of stood out this season to kind of maybe build that being a steal?
Yeah, I will stick in the WHL because it's just where my knowledge base is. I think Terran Smith is going to be a steal.
Hmm.
He has 20 points in 15 games as a defenseman, playing with the Everett Silvertips, who have been fantastic this season. When they came to Saskatoon, they looked like they were an AHL squad playing against a junior team. They were fast, they were big, they were strong, and Terrence Smith was one of their quarterbacks. He could really move the puck well. He could really skate. Man, he is a really good player. And he was a third round pick,
Hmm.
79th overall by the Ducks. Uh, I don't know what information the NHL was playing with, but they missed it on Terrence Smith. And I think he
Yeah.
is going to be a fantastic player, maybe along the lines of Olen Zellweger.
Hmm.
But this guy's 6'2". He's got the size as well. I don't know.
The Ducks seem to hit on defensemen. They've got so many good guys in their system and guys that are already now being in the NHL, right?
Yeah.
So
They scout the
Tristan
West pretty well
Luneau,
too, is from what I remember.
yeah, yeah, Tristan Luneau as well. I mean, he was just
Hmm.
sent back to the AHL, but yeah, he's shown well. Of course, Pavel Mintyukov, Olen Zellweger are in the NHL right now. Jackson Lacombe, I believe. I'm not sure on the top of my head where when he was drafted, but I mean, he's in the NHL now too. Lots of good guys, and then
Hmm.
Terrence Smith could be another one. Well, we'll see how that kind of goes for them, but they seem to be pretty good at picking defensemen,
Yeah.
as we went through when we did their prospect deep dive earlier in the seasons or earlier in the off season, right? So, yeah, another guy to add to that list.
Hmm.
All right, let's move to the 2023 draft. This has a bit more sample size and also more guys that have been in the NHL. 10 players have played an NHL game so far in their career, and that would be Connor Bedard, Leo Carlsson, Adam Fantilli, Will Smith, Matvei Michkov, Zach Benson, Samuel Honzek, Callum Ritchie, Bradley Nadeau, Gavin Brindley, and that is it. Yes, I went 10 people. There you go. And all of them in the first round, except for Gavin Brindley, who was drafted in the second round. He has one NHL game under his belt, and that was played last season. So I mean, Bradley Nadeau last season as well. Rest of them have played their NHL games this season. So of the top 10, that is five players have played an NHL game, and all of them are in the NHL right now. They're not have been sent down. So, what do you think about the top 10 so far? I mean, of course, Connor Bedard, we all knew he was going to hit right off the bat. He's got 73 points in 81 NHL games to as of this recording. The top three for sure have already hit at being NHL players. Leo Carlsson and Adam Fantilli are established NHLers, I would say, at this point.
Hmm.
What do you think about this top 10, how it's gone for them so far?
Well, I think we always knew that this draft was going to have a great, first round, especially like the beginning, that top 10, top
Yeah,
15. It was a really deep draft class. And I think we're just seeing kind of proof of that, right? Where there's four guys, like the first four guys have already made the NHL, deservedly so. Matvei Michkov is already in the NHL, should have been a top five guy, but they
yeah.
passed on him. Zach Benson, again, should have been a top 10, top five guy, went 13th. He's made the NHL. It's a really, really good group. Um, and I think, yeah, like Bedard has come as advertised. He's already got almost a point per game in his career, also
Yeah,
this season. He's been fantastic on a terrible Blackhawks team. Carlson and Fantilli, a little bit slower to adjust, but they're doing fine, right? They, like you said, they're established NHLers. Both are about half a point per game this season. Will Smith has struggled a little bit in his rookie season, only 2 goals in 10 games. Coming in from college, sometimes you'll get a kid who isn't quite ready, especially if they're on the younger side. But college, the NCAA does seem to prepare players really well for the NHL, and I have no fears about him adjusting. Um, I think the one that maybe stands out as not a problem, but like one to keep an eye on is David Reinbacher,
Mm.
who should have been in the NHL this year, but a nasty injury. Was that in preseason?
Yeah, it's preseason.
Yeah. That's going to take him out for a long time. And we talked about Caden Lindstrom having some issues with injuries already. Like, this is not how you want to start your career. I'm sure it's going to be fine, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on as this draft class progresses, because he might find himself, a little bit behind developmentally if he misses a lot of time from playing the season because he's ready. He's good to go. Just gotta get on the ice now, get healthy.
Mhm. Yeah, that was a nasty injury in the preseason there, and he's out half the season. So I mean, it's something that and then he's gonna have to take time to get back acclimated. And of course, this is his first NHL season too. Um, and Montreal, I don't know how quickly they'll put him in. They may just have him in the AHL in Laval instead of putting him into the NHL right away, especially coming off an injury. We'll see how they kind of decide what the best thing is for him. But injuries, yeah, is it sucks to have again, like you said with Lindstrom, is that Ryan Barker has had maybe he's not been as injury ridden as before, but as Lindstrom has been. But again, having an injury that'll last more than a few weeks and you're into months, that's a major thing to kind of come back from. So hopefully he'll be good to go and play the rest of the season healthy and get that behind him really quick.
Hmm.
Another guy looking at had who was I gonna Nate Danielson.
Hmm.
He's pretty close, I think, to the NHL. He's been great in preseasons for the Red Wings every time. It seems like he's close to making the team, and then he gets sent back every time. But I mean, he's still young. In he's now in the AHL, so it hasn't started off the best. A goal and 3 points in 10 games to start. I mean, it's not bad. But the thing is, and with prospects in the AHL, it's interesting. Some guys really start really fast. Others take a bit of time to kind of acclimate to the league. And coming off another great season in the WHL with 41 points, 28 games, and then a great playoffs with the 24 points there. Um, I mean, like I say, he hasn't started on fire in his first AHL season, but some players just develop differently and how they kind of start in the AHL. It's not a panic to not see them dominate right off the bat. So,
Hmm.
but he could be in his first NHL game at any point here if the Red Wings think to call him up. So he's close, I think for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, he always played a really pro game, even in junior.
Yeah.
Not a ton of points, but he was so smart with how he moved the puck and how he positioned himself. Like that was somebody who was going to thrive pretty quickly when he turned pro. So not surprising to hear that he has adjusted smoothly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, like I've said this before with Danielson, he's not going to be a guy that's going to put up 80, 90 points a season. He'll be in that 70, maybe. He'll maybe max at that, but still be a great two-way player that will just be good up and down. It doesn't matter where you put him in the lineup, he's going to be good. Great penalty killer, maybe see time in the power play. But very just good all-around player that just is very consistent. And maybe it's not surprising that he's not dominating the AHL because that's just not the type of player he is. But we'll see. I mean, it's very early in his career
Yeah.
in pro, so I don't have any worries of what his production is so far. You have anyone else you want to talk about in the first round? I mean, there's like I say that this draft is quite deep when you're
Yeah.
looking at a lot of the guys that were in it. Callum Ritchie is in the NHL now, a 27th overall pick for the Colorado Avalanche. Has played
Hmm.
7 games so far, has a goal
Yeah.
in those seven.
He has
Hanzek, of
been
course,
since returned.
dude,
Just
he's back now, right?
yeah, he is. But
And then
yeah,
Samuel
man.
Hanzek too, right? He's played 5 games. He is now down in the AHL as well.
Mhm.
So hasn't played a game in the AHL yet, but he's played 5 games in the NHL. I think he's injured, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
He would likely, I can't remember how it works for import players, but he's only 19, so he might not be eligible for the AHL yet because of junior rights.
Right.
I'm not sure how it works though with kids born in Slovakia. So maybe he is eligible to go down, but you can't like send down an injured player, I think, which is why it lists him AHL.
Yeah.
There's some weird rules that I always forget about until they show up and then I have to look them up again.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
great preseason for Hanzek. We talked about him in the preseason. Again, and we've talked about injuries so much on the show already. And he's another guy's got injured, but it was a week to week thing. So it wasn't something that was major.
Yeah.
But still, I mean that to get hurt so soon, and especially after such a great showing in the preseason, you make the team and then you get
Hmm.
hurt 5 games in. It's not very, it's not the best to start, but. Yeah, he has since returned. Um, so I mean, still a bit. He was activated off injured reserve on Halloween, so
Okay.
he's close to probably playing again
Yep.
uh, soon. So
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good guys drafted later. Like David Edstrom, 32nd overall. He's been pretty solid in Sweden. 11 points in 13 games. Of course, we've heard a ton about Easton Cowan, how
yeah.
he is really lighting it up. And, maybe that's a bit of an overstatement right now. Only 12 points in 10 games. 7 goals, though, with the London Knights. Pretty solid. He's looking like he's going to be quite the player for the Leafs. Cal Ritchie, we mentioned. Quentin Musty's doing all right. Only 3 games so far, though, this season with Sudbury. So I wonder, I haven't seen any injury news, but that seems like something might be injured. Um, Braden Yeager's been great. Matthew Wood's been great. One guy I'm going to really pay attention closely to, though, no surprise here, Tanner Mollendijk, Saskatoon Blades.
Yeah.
I don't know how he fell to 26 because or sorry, 24th overall. He skates better than I think I've ever seen anyone skate. Watching him play against anybody is like watching an NHLer play against children.
Yeah.
You can't touch him if he doesn't want to be touched. It's honestly like mind blowing when he gets the puck and he gets going. Um, there was a goal last week, I think, maybe 2 weeks ago, um, where he got the puck and cycled around 1.5 times in the offensive zone. Nobody could touch him. They couldn't catch him. They couldn't knock the puck away, and he scored a goal.
Hmm.
Like one of the prettiest goals I've seen since Connor Bedard was in the WHL. He is a really special talent, and I'm not saying that just because I'm a homer, but I am. Like I'm always going to cheer for the home team.
For sure. And correction on Hanzek, he returned on October 30th and played against Utah. So he is back in the lineup.
Oh,
Uh,
is he? Okay.
yeah. He missed, yeah, he did miss some time, but he was back on the 30th and played in the 5-1 loss against Utah, but hasn't played since. So
All right.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see how Hanzek does and what they do with him again. I'm not sure about the AHL. I mean, he did play in the AHL last season, but that was a couple games and then a game in the playoffs. But that was after the season was over. So we'll see how
Yeah,
that
it's
plays out.
weird rules with the CHL and the AHL.
Because he's not, I mean, age-wise, he's not eligible. But like you
Yeah.
said, it could be indicated as an import guy.
Yeah. I
He
think that
was an
might overrate
import
things.
for the Giants, so
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes if they do send him down after his 9 games because he's only played 5, so the 9 games
Mhm.
is the that magic number to see if they want to keep him for the rest of the
Yeah.
season.
And just imagine him playing with Cam Schmidt.
Oh, geez, I'm sure the Giants would want him back.
Oh my goodness, it would be incredible.
Yeah, that'd be fun actually. I'm gonna
Mhm.
go back to the dub. I actually think that's probably what Calgary's gonna do.
I
I mean
believe so.
he of course made the team out of for sure deserved to make the team of what he how he played in the preseason, but again, 5 games, no points. Um, he only played 10 minutes in his last game.
Mhm.
I don't know. For a guy like that, I'd probably want him playing a lot of minutes somewhere and not just 10, 12 minutes in the NHL. But we'll see what they decide with him.
Yeah.
All right. Any other guys from the rest of the draft you want to kind of stood out so far? I mean, the last couple seasons, I guess.
Yeah, rest of the draft. Why don't we stick in the WHL? That's my specialty. Um, in the third round, the Seattle Kraken took Caden Price, defenseman from the Kelowna Rockets. He is currently leading the team in points with 17 points in 11 games played, um, which is pretty incredible considering that he's outscoring Andrew Cristall and T. Ginla.
Huh. It's pretty good.
That's that's crazy. Like he is an offensive defenseman. He had 55 points last season. He might be on track to hit like 70 or 80 right now if he keeps up this pace. So I don't know. That seems like a potential steal to me. That's a pretty good find from the Seattle Kraken. Though I don't know if we should be surprised because of
No,
course they did.
of course. I'll mention your guy, Igor Sidorov. He's got 3 goals in his first 10 games in the AHL. Of course, not scoring at the same rate he was in the tub with his 50 goals. But that was not expected in the AHL, bigger league. Not as many minutes, I'm assuming, on in San Diego there. He's not playing the same amount. He's not in the same role. And that's the thing with these guys. They're usually not given that same minutes on the power play, same everything to start. But 3 goals in 10 games is decent to start his career in the pro. So, yeah, that's not bad for him. And he was a third round pick, like you said, definitely a guy that I think could potentially be a bit of a steal maybe down the line. For sure. Sawyer Minio, I've mentioned him already. Third round pick of the Vancouver Canucks and 89th overall. He has started off the season on fire. He's got 16 points in 14 games, coming off a season of 53 points. So maybe he's not as defensively oriented that we thought when he was drafted. But I mean, uh, he only had 31 points in his draft year. So, I mean, this is a new development for him. He had 16 goals last season. And then he's already got 4 this season. So maybe he's turned a bit of a corner offensively, becoming more of a two-way guy rather than just, I always compared him to like a Chris Tanev, Jacob Slavin type defenseman. Maybe he's going to turn into something more than that and be a bit more of a two-way guy that can score and add some points too. So that'd be pretty great for the Canucks
Hmm.
in the future because I mean they could already have Tom Villander who was also drafted in 2023. He's off to a pretty good start as well. So a couple of the defensemen that the Canucks drafted in this draft have started off pretty good in their draft plus 2 season. So 6 points in 7 games for Villander to start his sophomore season in Boston U. So and then of course if they wouldn't have traded Hunter Brstevich, that'd be another great one.
Yeah.
But that's done. He's not started off in the AHL as on fire as he was in the OHL. So I don't know, but I still think he's going to be a pretty good guy
Oh yeah.
for the future. So those are my guys, and of course, always love Gavin Brindley. I mentioned him a bit.
Hmm.
He hasn't played this season yet, so not much to say yet for him.
True. Yeah.
All right. Anyone you want to say? I mean, we mentioned a couple guys for steals, maybe to start. You have anyone you want to mention a bit more?
Yeah, I think one guy that we maybe missed talking about a little bit is Luca Cagnoni.
Hmm.
Um, he's continuously flown under the radar, I feel. He was a fourth round pick in 2023. Um, after putting up 64 points in 67 games as a defenseman, 17 goals, pretty solid numbers. Playing with the Portland Winterhawks, usually a pretty strong team. Last season, he hit 90 points as a defenseman. And so, of course, you're going to bring him up into the AHL. He, yeah, seems to be doing fine with the San Jose Barracuda. He's got 9 points in nine
Yeah,
games as an AHL rookie, as a defenseman.
yeah,
That's I don't know how we're not talking about him more because he is proving to be one of the most interesting young defensemen coming into the NHL right now. Maybe not the best, like he's only 5'9" and does have some of those, small guy weaknesses, if you
Mhm.
want to put it like that, that he will have to maybe kind of overcompensate for if he wants to be an effective player in the NHL. But yeah, definitely somebody to watch out for, especially as the Sharks are the Sharks.
Yeah. I mean, defensemen too. Like they did add they had Timothy Liljegren. Now he's not Liljegren, he's Liljegren.
Oh,
Now that he's in San Jose.
oh, all right.
I'm not sure why he now wants to be called Liljegren. So we will call him that now. Yeah, but Luca Cagnani is they need all the defensemen they can get. I just in the future, Shakir Mukhamadullin is also a part of that. I So I mean, Cagnani has maybe come out of the maybe bit of a surprise as being maybe part of that conversation. But 4 goals in 9 games is great for anyone. I mean, that's even bigger for a defenseman to start his pro career, and point a game guy to start too. I mean that's pretty good. And now I'm patting myself on the back a bit too because I mentioned him in premium Substack article of AHL guys to watch that could break out this season. So there you go.
Yeah, feels good, right?
Feels good to start. So yeah, he's proving me right so far. Of course, I picked him because also being undersized,
Yeah.
and I love undersized guys succeeding. So
Yeah,
great
short
stuff.
kings, if you will.
Yes, that's right. I say undersized. I am not undersized. I'm more undersized weight wise. I'm five. I'm 5'11". I mean, that's not really undersized, but yeah, I just love the undersized guys. I getting a chance and doing well. So it's also from Burnaby, BC here, which is just about an hour away from where I am. So
Not bad.
hometown guy too. So lots of good stuff. We'll watch his season um,
Mhm.
intently, see what he does. All right, let's do our prospect of the week to finish the show, and I will start with the homer pick. Jonathan Lekramaki. He has 4 goals in to start his AHL season, first AHL season, even though he did play last year season. He came in a bit later in the year, coming over from Europe. This is his first full season in the AHL. He's got 4 goals in 6 games, 6 points in 6 games, point a game. Guy, he's got actually 8 points in 12 overall AHL games from last season, and looks really good. He's near the top of the AHL in shots on goal, so he's shooting a lot to start. Which, as you all know, when you shoot the puck, you're probably going to score a bit, especially with the shot he's got. And now everyone's clamoring to get him up in the NHL because it's like Canucks need to shoot more. Well, he'll shoot, and need to get Elias Pettersson going. I said, don't put that on a rookie. Don't put him up to get Pettersson going. But Lekramaki, if he keeps going on this, he's definitely going to garner a bit of time in the NHL. He should be coming up. He was drafted in 2022, 15th overall. So that's why we didn't talk about him in this episode. But yeah, I love it that I've said this many times, if all his injury problems, we talked about injuries on this episode a lot, and he's come back really great from that. He was injured to start the season a bit, was sick, had a bit of an illness as well as he didn't start the season on time. So I'm happy that he's bounced back from that and has started off really well. So hopefully he keeps it going and maybe gets a call up and plays in the NHL and maybe scores his first NHL goal at some point to join Arshdeep Bains in that category, who is back in the AHL right now too. So yeah, Jonathan Lekramaki is my prospect of the week, deservedly so after 4 goals. Who's yours?
Well, I'm going to actually stick in your area, and I mentioned him earlier. Cam Schmidt had a crazy week against some Saskatchewan teams coming through. Scored twice against the Saskatoon Blades in I believe that was a loss for my Blades, which is, it happens. Yeah, finished the night with 3 points, 2 goals, and assist. And then Moose Jaw came to town the very next night, and he put 3 goals by the reigning WHL champions. So 2 games, 5 goals. This kid cannot stop scoring.
Yeah.
He is going to attract a lot of attention for the 2025 NHL draft, and thankfully, somebody, a really big name is recognizing his talents. The Athletic just
Mm.
put out their list a couple of days ago, and he was 15th on theirs. So
There we go.
that is where I feel he should be. That is a fantastic spot for him. Um, he is just the perfect goal scorer, and if he wasn't 5'7", I think he'd be generating a lot more attention. But for now, he will remain my prospect of the week.
Yeah, that's I mean, we gotta I don't know, we've stopped and that's so these guys shouldn't be their undersized attributes shouldn't be focused on because they just I mean, yes, they have to do a lot more work to overcome it, but it shouldn't be as big of a problem when you're looking at some of the guys that have made the NHL recently and succeeded. Um, I think the biggest thing is they know how to use what they have. And in the NHL, the way it is right now, a lot of undersized guys can succeed because of the way the league is. So I really think Schmidt is going to end up being a guy like, Stankoven, um, Benson, Garland. I mean, these guys that are able to succeed at the size they are, and I
Mhm.
think Schmidt's going to be one of those too. Hopefully, he is doesn't drop, even though he probably will. But we will see what team doesn't feel that way. It traps them anyway.
Yeah, there's a few things that I don't have a lot of confidence in where I put my rankings. It's just my feelings. But there have been a few times where I've been unbelievably confident. Last year it was picking Artem Levshunov second. I
Yeah.
was yelled at in the comments.
There you
Yell all you
go.
want. He went second.
Yeah.
And then this year, Cam Schmidt is going to drop from where he's projected to be because teams will be afraid about his size. I don't think it's going to be a problem for his future, but yeah, it's not. It's unfortunately going to hurt his draft day.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, Berkeley Catton dropped a bit more too than
Hmm.
not as far, but he did drop from where he probably should have gone. So I mean, just so many examples, and it's probably going to happen again, even though he's just shown that it probably shouldn't be a problem. But
Yeah.
we'll wait and see. All right. Well, thanks, Dayton, for just coming on, discussing prospects as always. Make sure to check out everything that we've got at hockeyreddits.com with prospect coverage. We've got prospect updates. Most teams do them, so make sure you're checking all those out. You've got your prospect of the week for the Senators, which Carter Yakimchuk has won 2 of those already.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he's been really
Deservedly
good.
so, what he's
He
started.
won't be this week's though, or I guess last week's.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure you're checking out all that. I'm gonna try to start ones. I wanted to do one this past week, but time got away from me. I'm gonna start that eventually. Lekramaki, I'll give a spoiler. He will be my prospect of the week this first
Nice.
one. But yeah, make sure to check out all of our coverage over at the site and the Substack, as well as everything on the YouTube channel as we continue through the season. But until our next episode, we will see you next time.